I booked a surprise weekend getaway for my husband. At the hotel, I heard his laughter in the next room. My heart pounded as I peeked through the door. He was feeding strawberries to my sister. She smirked. "Guess the surprise is on you." I stepped inside and dropped a folder on the bed. My husband opened it and turned pale. "You weren't supposed to see this," he whispered. But the real shock was what came next. I never thought I'd be sharing my story here, but life has a way of throwing unexpected punches. I'm a 42-year-old woman, and I've been married to my husband, Mike, for 15 years. We live in Charleston, South Carolina, and like any marriage, we've had our ups and downs. But I always believed we were solid. That belief was shattered a few months ago. Mike had been working long hours, and I thought he deserved a break. So, I planned a surprise weekend getaway for us at a charming hotel downtown. I was excited to rekindle our connection and spend some quality time together. I told Mike I had a work conference that weekend and couldn't be reached. Little did he know I was orchestrating this surprise. I arrived at the hotel early to set everything up. The room was perfect, cozy, with a beautiful view of the harbor. As I was walking down the hallway to our room, I heard laughter coming from one of the rooms. It was Mike's laughter. My heart skipped a beat. I thought, what a coincidence. Maybe he had the same idea to surprise me. Curiosity got the better of me, and I peeked through the slightly ajar door. What I saw made my stomach drop. There was Mike, feeding strawberries to my sister, Rachel. She noticed me and smirked. "Guess the surprise is on you." I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. My own sister and my husband? I couldn't comprehend it, but I knew I had to confront them. I stepped inside and dropped a folder on the bed. Mike's face turned pale as he opened it. Inside were the divorce papers I'd been contemplating for months due to other issues in our marriage. I hadn't planned to serve them yet, but this pushed me over the edge. "You weren't supposed to see this," Mike whispered, avoiding my gaze. But the real shock was what came next. Rachel stood up and said, "Actually, there's more. Mike and I are in love. We've been seeing each other for over a year." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. I turned on my heel and walked out, leaving them behind. The following weeks were a blur of pain and legal proceedings. I leaned heavily on friends and therapy to get through it. The betrayal by two people I loved most was devastating, but I knew I had to move forward. Now, months later, I'm finding peace. I've reconnected with old hobbies, traveled to places I've always wanted to see, and even adopted a dog. Life isn't what I expected, but I'm learning to embrace the unexpected and find joy in new beginnings. To anyone going through similar situations, know that you're not alone. Healing takes time, but it's possible. Surround yourself with support and don't be afraid to seek help. You deserve happiness and peace. I walked out of that hotel room like a ghost, dragging my suitcase behind me down that carpeted hallway. My hands were shaking. I didn't even make it to the elevator. I just sat on the floor near the vending machine and stared at nothing. My heart wasn't broken. It felt like it had been yanked out of my chest and stomped on by the only two people I thought I could trust. I didn't go home that night. I checked into another room on the far end of the hotel, sat on the bed, and stared at the wall for hours. I didn't cry. Not at first. That came later. The kind of cry where your whole body folds in, and the sound you make doesn't even feel human. The next morning, I turned on my phone and found 6 missed calls from Mike, 2 voicemails from Rachel, and a text that just said, "We didn't plan it like this. Please let's talk." I didn't respond. Instead, I drove to my friend Denise's place. She opened the door and saw my face. No words, just hugged me and pulled me in. I stayed there for the next few days. I didn't tell my parents. I couldn't. Not yet. Then came the twist. For days after the hotel, I got a call from Rachel. I let it go to voicemail. She left a long message. Voice trembling. "I didn't know how to tell you. I never wanted to fall for him. It just happened. And I think I made a mistake." "A mistake?" She said Mike was gone. Left Charleston. Took a flight to Seattle for a business opportunity. No explanation. No goodbye. She sounded scared. Desperate even. "He won't answer my texts or calls," she said. I think he used me. I didn't call her back. But my brain started spinning. What kind of man cheats on his wife with her sister for a year, only to vanish days after being caught? So I checked our shared bank accounts. That's when I found it. $38,000 gone. Transferred to a new account I didn't recognize. The transaction happened 2 days before the hotel. I froze. I checked again. Our savings were wiped clean. The money we were going to use to renovate the house. The money from my dad's life insurance after he passed last year. Every cent. Gone. I stared at the screen for a long time, the numbers not even making sense anymore. This wasn't just betrayal. It was theft. I called our bank. I asked where the money went. They couldn't give me full details, but they confirmed the transfer came from Mike's login, authenticated by his phone. I called his work. They told me he quit last week. Now everything was starting to look different. The long work hours, the late nights, the business trips that didn't match his calendar. It wasn't just an affair. He was planning this. I started wondering, was Rachel just another pawn? Did he ever really care about her? Or me? I filed a police report the next day, opened a fraud case at the bank, called a lawyer and started putting everything in motion. But more than anything, I needed to know where he went, why he left, why now. And then something happened that made everything worse. My mom called me, her voice shaky. "Sweetheart, Rachel came over. She told me everything. Why didn't you tell me?" I didn't know how to answer. I was still processing myself. Then she added, "She also said she's pregnant." I didn't say a word. My mouth just hung open. "I thought you should know," my mom whispered. "She says it's Mike's." I don't remember hanging up. I don't remember anything for a few minutes after that. All I remember is the sound of blood rushing in my ears and the feeling that this nightmare wasn't even close to over. I didn't sleep that night. I laid on Denise's couch staring at the ceiling, running everything through my mind. My husband was gone, my sister was pregnant, and $38,000 had disappeared with no trace. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that hotel room. The strawberries. The smirk. The folder. The way Mike had gone pale. None of it made sense, but one thing was clear. Mike hadn't just left me. He was running from something. The next morning, I called Rachel. She picked up on the first ring. Her voice was scratchy, like she'd been crying. "You told Mom?" I asked. My voice was calm, too calm. "I didn't know what else to do," she said. "He's not answering. I think he blocked me. I thought he loved me." There was a long pause. "You said you're pregnant." She let out a shaky breath. "Yes." I asked the one question I didn't want to ask. "Are you sure it's his?" Silence. Then, "I haven't been with anyone else, if that's what you're asking." I ended the call. I didn't have the energy for her tears. 2 days later, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a USB stick and a note that just said, "You need to see what he was really doing." I stared at it for a long time before plugging it into my laptop. There were 3 folders inside. One named Clients, one called Videos, and one called Keys. I opened Clients first. It was spreadsheets. Names. Emails. Phone numbers. Amounts of money. Notes like, drop location confirmed, paid in cash, crypto transfer. My stomach turned. I opened the second folder. Videos. Dozens of short clips. I clicked one at random. It was security footage, grainy but clear. Mike in our garage, opening a hidden compartment in the wall behind the tool rack. I never even knew it was there. He pulled out a black duffel bag, checked something inside it, then closed it back up. Another clip showed him meeting a man at a dock near Shem Creek, handing him a small package. I stopped the video. My hands were ice cold. I opened the last folder, Keys. It was a scanned notebook page. Scribbled in Mike's handwriting were combinations, passwords, strange codes I didn't understand. At the bottom was a name, Devin R. Carver. I Googled it. The first result was a mugshot. Devin Carver had been arrested 2 years ago in Atlanta for running an illegal network of shell companies tied to identity theft and bank fraud. Charges were dropped due to lack of evidence. His name hadn't come up again until now. My blood ran cold. Mike wasn't just cheating. He was involved in something criminal. And Rachel, God, was she even aware of who she'd gotten involved with? I needed answers, and I knew the one place I might find something, our house. It still had my name on it. I hadn't been back since the hotel, but now I had to go. I drove there with Denise in the passenger seat. She didn't ask questions. She just came. The place felt different. Empty. Cold. I walked through each room slowly, looking for anything out of place. Everything looked normal until I got to the garage. I pulled the tool rack away from the wall, and there it was. The hidden panel. Just like in the video. I pried it open. Inside was a metal box. I opened it and found fake IDs, a burner phone, stacks of cash, and a black notebook. I flipped through it. Page after page of meeting dates, initials, numbers, notes that made no sense to me. Then I saw Rachel's name. And a note below it, keep her close. She knows too much. I sat on the cold garage floor, notebook in hand, heart pounding. He didn't love her. She was a cover. Or worse, another loose end. The last page of the notebook had one line, written in red ink. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. I stared at that notebook like it had caught fire in my hands. Keep her close. She knows too much. Rachel had no idea. She thought she was in love, carrying the baby of a man who saw her as a liability. If she read that line, it'd break her in half. Or maybe it wouldn't. Maybe she'd already broken. I took the notebook and the burner phone. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I needed backup. Someone who wouldn't panic or sugarcoat it. So I called Marcus, Mike's old friend from college who now worked as a private investigator. I hadn't spoken to him in years, but he picked up immediately. I didn't even get through half the story before he cut me off. You're not safe, he said. I've heard of Carver. Mike's into something deep. You need to let me handle this. He flew down from DC the next day. Within 48 hours, Marcus dug into the files from the USB, cross-checked the accounts, and confirmed what I feared. Mike had been laundering money for Carver and possibly others under fake business names, some tied to real properties in Charleston, including the very hotel we stayed at. And there was more. The burner phone had only one recent message. You promised. No loose ends. Handle it. That's when I decided. I had to confront Rachel. I had to know what she knew. She agreed to meet at my mom's house. Neutral ground. She showed up looking worn out. Dark circles under her eyes, a trembling hand on her belly. I'm sorry, she whispered as soon as she saw me. I didn't say anything. I just sat down and dropped the notebook on the table between us. I pointed to the red ink. She read it. Then she looked up, mouth trembling, voice barely above a whisper. He said, he loved me. My mom walked in just then, holding a tray of tea, her face pale. She'd read some of the notebook earlier. She looked at both of us, her daughters, broken in different ways, and just shook her head. You both let that man tear this family apart, she said. I don't care who he lied to more. Rachel started crying. Hard. I didn't know. I swear I didn't. He said he left you because you were cold, that you never believed in his work. He doesn't work, Rachel. I snapped. He scams. He lies. He steals. And he used you. Just like he used me. My voice cracked. I hadn't cried in days, but the tears came fast and hot. You were my sister, I said. You were supposed to be my safe. She got up and tried to come closer, but I stepped back. And then, like it was scripted, the doorbell rang. Marcus opened it. A woman stood there, blonde, maybe 30, holding a toddler. I'm looking for Mike, she said. I nearly fell over. She looked around, confused. Is this not 21 Sycamore? He gave me this address. Marcus stepped in. Who are you to Mike? I'm his wife, she said. You could have heard a pin drop. Rachel sat down hard. My mom gasped. And I felt something in my chest just shatter. The woman looked at us at the notebook, the tension, and her face fell. "Oh God," she whispered. He did it again. Turns out, she'd been married to Mike for 2 years. She thought he was an investment consultant who traveled a lot. She met him in Seattle. They shared a mortgage on a house he hadn't paid on in 6 months. We talked for hours, filling in each other's gaps. By the end of it, there were no doubts. Mike was a fraud, a criminal, a man who built entire lives on lies and moved on before the fallout. The next morning, I called the police again. I handed over everything, the USB, the notebook, the cash, the burner. They launched a full investigation. The FBI got involved. Apparently, Mike had been on their radar for years, but kept slipping away. A month later, they found him. In Belize. Under a different name, with a new passport. He was arrested, extradited, and now faces multiple charges of fraud, identity theft, and interstate financial crime. And maybe, just maybe, worse. Rachel moved out of town. She says she wants to raise her baby away from all of this. I don't blame her. We talk sometimes, mostly short texts. I'm not sure if I forgive her. I'm not sure I ever will. But we're both rebuilding something out of the wreckage in our own ways. My mom won't even say Mike's name anymore. She keeps busy with church and gardening. Marcus and I, surprisingly, grew close again. He checks in often, sometimes too often. I think he blames himself for not seeing it earlier. I don't. The truth is, I don't blame myself anymore either. For the longest time, I thought I missed the signs. That maybe if I'd been more attentive, more affectionate, more something, I could have stopped all this. But that's what people like Mike count on. That you'll blame yourself. Not anymore. I'm not the same woman who booked a surprise getaway thinking love could fix it. That woman's gone. But what's in her place is someone stronger, someone who sees clearly now. I'm still healing. Still hurt. Still cautious. But there's a quiet kind of power in surviving what was meant to destroy you. And I did survive. I'm not sure what comes next. But I'm finally okay with not knowing.